Hello, I'm John McNestry, and this is the third video in visual facilitation for coaches. In the first one, we spent some time looking at the background and a little bit of the neuroscience behind visual facilitation, how it helped people to connect to information and really remember things that happened that aren't on the page, that sit behind the page, and that we use our skills as facilitators to help cheat a little bit so that people feel like they were part of creating a visualization, and then it's more meaningful for them. The second one was the 6 basics of visual facilitation, the drawing skills side of it. So we had a writing and text. We had layout, how we look at layout. We had containers, little boxes and shapes around all of the text items. The little people, shading and highlighting and so forth, and then icons. So today let me just share my screen. Today we're on part three. Part three is very, very practical. I think we use the word practicalities in this. Today we are looking at examples of using some of the skills that we've learned, tools related to them, and practicalities, including for all of those of you who love a bit of stationery, pens, and some resources, and a little bit of conversation about iPads. But we'll be doing a fourth video about live iPad facilitation after this one. Perfect. So, what I wanted to do was when I run this course live, I often start this portion of it with an exercise, a little bit like I might do with a team. Doesn't work so well in a group, but quite well. But an exercise about strengths, showing how we can use some of the skills on just a flip chart with another tool, with some other media. So I'm going to flip over back to the flip chart, and I'm going to show you a couple of things over there. So quite often what we do when we're in front of a group of people is about collecting some information that is important, that matters to the group or the team, using our knowledge and skills to pull some of that information out, put it somewhere, and synthesize and organize and structure it in a way that is helpful to that group of people. An exercise I quite love to do is about strengths. And if we do strengths with a team, there are a lot of props and things that we can use to do that. I am a huge fan of generally picture cards, but at my best, strengths cards, pretty good. And they are a load of different images. And so one of my favorite questions to ask people is to tell me about when they are at their best as something. So when I run this course for coaches, it's, I don't know, when are you at your best as a coach or a facilitator or a leader? If I'm doing this with a team of software engineers, when are you at your best as an engineer or a developer or something? I might ask people to look at all of these pictures and to choose one that helps them to tell us all about when they're at their best as whatever that happens to be. So, a couple of examples. We might start with this one. I don't know how well you can see this. But this picture here of father and child going and fishing. So I might say, right, thank you, person who's given me this. Right, okay. What I'm going to do is I'm going to pop this blue tacket onto the flip chart, and I'm going to ask them to talk to me a little bit about when they're at their best. And the person might say something like, oh, well, actually, I partly picked this because I'm at my best as a coach when I'm out in nature. And I'm going, nature, okay, that's important, I'll gather that. And they go, really, it's about being shoulder to shoulder. You go, that sounds like an important set of words, right? Okay, I'm going to write shoulder to shoulder. And they're going to go, and I can really feel a connection with the person I'm working with. at my best when there is a connection. And they'll share a few things. We'll just add them. And this is easy because, this is not a hugely complicated thing for me to do. It's not a hugely complicated drawing or visualization. And I love these cards because they have something on the back that people usually don't notice. And this one, you can see it, says patient. So I go to the person, oh, actually, yeah, that's really interesting. So what does patient say to you about when you're at your best as a coach? And I go, oh, yes, well, actually, for me, it's really about being able to be in the moment and not distracted by other things. And hey, oh, yeah, brilliant. That's really interesting. And suddenly we have a piece of information here. It's very personal, but also connected to the group of people that we're working with. Do one more. Go, someone else picks this one. It's the child with the rubber duck in the bath. I go, oh yes, brilliant. Right, pop that on there. And the person will say, okay, so tell me when you are at your very best. And I go, I really think, seems obvious, but there's something about being childlike and having wonder. And going, that's lovely. And then they're saying, yeah, there's something about being able to let go. And okay, that sounds important. I'll write that as well. What it really is, just about picking the odd word, the odd little phrase that feels like there's a connection to the person or the room. We'll do the last bit here. This one says on the back of it, curious. So I go to the person, okay. So that says curious. Maybe their face lights up and they go, yes, that's what it's about. My best as a coach when I'm curious. And we might do a few more. We might have a few pages. And I've got teams who still have this on their wall a long time after it's been created. Things that have shared qualities and strengths. They're paying you quite a lot. You might let them keep the cards. If not, you might go, right, okay, I'm going to take that back and I'm going to write child in bath. I mean, you can see what I've done here is really simple. I've just used a couple of different kinds of containers for really normal and simple things. It's not a difficult exercise to do, but anything like this can be really, really have a huge impact on people. Okay. While I'm up here, two more little things. Mistakes. Let's talk about mistakes. People really dread making mistakes when they're writing, especially with pens. By the way, I'll talk about these later. Beautiful Neuland pens. No commission for me whatsoever, but I'll tell you where to buy them. So mistakes. There are mistakes that we let go, and there are mistakes that we have to correct. So if I am writing the word facilitation live, go tin. Oh no, I've missed out the O. Bit of a shame, really, isn't it? Making a little joke of it at this point is usually the best thing you can do. In front of a group of people, I feel bad because I've misspelled something. I'm just going to have this little person lower down the missing O. No one will make a big deal of it. Actually, to be honest, half the time people don't notice mistakes. Often it's best just not to point them out. There are times when it really, really does matter. I often find that it's two things. It's when you're preparing something and a template to use beforehand, you put loads of effort into it and you make a mistake on the last bit. Or often I find it's with people's names. So, Claire, very easy to get wrong, isn't it? that could be, it's meant to have an eye in it. And I want to fix it. Let's say this is something I want to fix. I'm not going to throw a piece of paper out and start again. We'll go sheet of laser labels. This could be the same roll, you know, the roll of stickers that when you're at a conference, get put here and with your name on and stuff. Just one of these, something like that. I just have this sort of thing with me. And just put it on there. And it's fixed. And you know what? It's a slightly different color and you can kind of notice it, but no one really cares. You can do this with small things in notebooks. You can do it with big things on flip charts. If you want to correct and you need to think about it, just do it that way. One more tool that I'd like to show you while we're stood here. Feedback posters. So often people think of parking lots, but I think there's something about using particularly if you're in a physical room, this doesn't work so well remotely. Having something to collect the answer to an important question. I'd be a bit disappointed if we didn't talk about. I think the best idea for the board in today's difficult world is X. Whatever the question is, it's really good just to put a little question, little people in the corner asking it. And then what we can do, we can just do something like make it easy for people to answer these things. Sharpie and a bit of blue tack, a few post-it notes attached to it. These are golden. You get so much feedback and interaction with things like this. Love these. Right, back to me seat. Okay. I just want to jump through some examples now. I have a few examples of just things that I've drawn over the years or I've done in with clients, and some of them might be useful, some of them might not. I'll put them in a PDF at the end of this, and you'll be able to see them, use them, borrow the ideas. Very, very happy with that. So where are we? Oh, okay. Consider this one a crime scene reenactment. So, something very similar to what you've just seen there was facilitating a conversation with a group of senior leaders about a set of principles for their department, things that mattered to them, things that they were, it was good work done in the room to understand all of this. And a flip chart that kind of looked like that was created. It was pretty good. And as so often happens, there was a break and I ended up doing some work. And I thought, this feels important. What I was saying about borders, shading, stuff like that really matter. So actually, I rewrote it. I tidied it up again. I looked up how I was going to draw a sports car, a lighthouse, thought, right, I want to make this look right for them. And this was probably 10 minutes. 10 minutes later, at the end of the break, this was ready for them. They loved it. And the director came up to me and said, oh, John, can you draw us a few more of these? And I said, oh, no. So I did. I drew them digitally. Again, we'll talk about iPads in a bit, but it loses a little bit of the heart, doesn't it? But these were printed A1 and used significantly around the building of this place at the time. And I thought that was great. People connect to things that they help create. And this lasted a while. Next up, I'm going to show you something that normally I don't show in public, but actually now this is recorded and going to end up in YouTube. Everyone gets to see it. I like to listen to podcasts sometimes when I go for a run. And I came back from a run from a good podcast, and I thought, right, okay, have my shower, sit down on the sofa, iPad ready. Gonna write this out, gonna draw this out. Good little sketch note, something to share on LinkedIn. And I thought, right, okay, ready to go. My wife came up to me and she said, put that down. You know we're going out. And we were. It was totally my fault. It's like, oh, I'm gonna have to listen to this again. Because if you don't record what you're thinking straight away, it dribbles away. And I thought, actually, I wonder what the quickest sketch note I could do is. This is actually what I did. This was Dancing in the Moment, Kim Morgan's podcast. And this is horrific. right? This is only readable by me. But what you might note is that I didn't just write a load of bullet points because structuring the information, laying it out, is what creates the connections. So I did this in about 90 seconds, let's say. And then I got to go out for the day. And then I came back and I redrew it. And the interesting thing is you can see that the layout, the structure, the shape of the information remains almost identical. If I'd just done a bunch of bullet points, it would have been worthless. But this persisted and this mattered. That's the bit that matters. That's cool. Next up, reflective templates. These are one of my favorite things. And this particular structure, what, so what, now what, is one of my favorites. I use it in coaching all the time and with training and teaching. And this really just gives people the opportunity to have a space to write something in that's a little nicer than they would have done otherwise. They create something. We ask the questions, we give them space to answer them, and they create something by just writing a few words that looks like they made the whole visualization. I have some printed versions of those that I will show you in a bit. But there's other forms of this. This is one for coaching after a coaching session, noticing what's happened for you. This one was meant for kids, but you know what? It's just a great daily reflection. I'm grateful for, I'm proud of. I learned I'm going to do this different. It's probably my favorite. Can we do more complex things? I like self-care battery meter. That's something that I do and I use. And it is, it is a space to fill in, like on your phone, that I have my battery does this, and actually it's projected to do this. I could think about what's using my battery, my energy. I could think about what my personal battery saver mode is, what things help me to decline less, less slowly, to not need to be restored so quickly. Might be things like going for a bit of fresh air and a walk. Might change my decline of my battery from that to that until I can get to what might charge my battery. Actually, going and doing a full day out with my family in the sunshine. Oh yes, that'll help. That will immediately charge me up. Um, this one I use with a set of written instructions on the back of it. So, you just hand this to pairs of people, ask them to speak to each other, ask them to work with each other. You can do this with a lot of exercises. Big fan of reflective templates and written instructions. What's next? Oh, yeah. Pretty much everything I've shown you or I've drawn has been the style that I would use on a piece of paper. Light for colors and shading, blocking, and things like that. You get stuff that is when you use an iPad or something like that, you can end up with clever tools that help you to draw nice shapes, and tools that allow you to fill in color. So there can be a slightly different style. It's just important to be aware of that sometimes, I think. We can do other things, and whether we're doing them on piece of paper or digitally, put images of things, embed images into it. This was a long time ago when Microsoft Teams first got breakout rooms, and I was super excited. And I was able to sort of paste in the images and build some instructions around them. That was cool. Do stuff like this quite often. Doesn't have to be big things. We can do really small things, really tiny things. I used to work in a place where I would spend a couple of hours each week sat in the cafe, kind of office hours style. People would come up to me and we'd have little like 10, 15, 20-minute coaching conversations about something they were struggling with. And I kind of took to just capturing one thought from it, writing it on a post-it note and handing it to them or putting it somewhere for them to get later. Doesn't have to be a big thing to have some meaning. Hmm. Um, oh yes, right. Next. Um, I have been known on occasion to think the stuff I do looks a bit messy. I actually think there's some charm in messiness. There is some honesty and authenticity in it. I recall a time when I was doing some work with a client. They said, "Oh, John, we love your drawing. It's really good, your drawing. Um, but would you be able to make it a little bit neater just for us? Because we're a big professional corporation." It's like, okay, I'll see what I can do. And I just want to show you some of the stuff that I did. This was some training material. And this probably took twice as long, maybe 3 times as long to do as something that was a little bit less neat. And I don't think it looks quite as nice. It's worse. This was the next bit I did. Bits of text carefully made to fit the right boxes, images put over the top, cropped out of PowerPoint or something. I actually think this looks awful. So there is something to authenticity, a little bit rough around the edges, you know. Last, um, well, still showing some agile training material. This is kind of how I do things now. Just get rid of that bit. Previously, I might have had a slide that said sprint review and had half a dozen bullet points on it. Maybe one that had retrospective and had half a dozen bullet points on it. But instead, if I'm going to do something like this, I'll just have a title, nice little icon that I've drawn. So I've done the hard bits first. And instead of having those 5 bullet points or whatever written out, I'll talk about it with the people I'm working with. And I will write down a few words from them as I go along. I'll go, yeah, it's for the things I was going to write down. But actually, we've had a conversation in the room now. We've used some slightly different words, and someone said a good point. So actually, I'm going to write that down instead of what I was going to write down. And you end up with something that's personalized to the people that you are working with. And this makes a huge difference. Yeah. Just some examples for you, really. I showed some templates earlier. I've got them in there as well, just in case you need to see them. But I think a lot of this comes down to what was said earlier about cheating, giving people the opportunity to produce something that is polished, that has has a structure and a feel to it, and is beyond what they think their skills can do. Things like the reflective templates, let that happen. There's some printed ones, I've got pads made of these. I can just hand them to people. They can write in them, they can take them away. I've got printable versions of those as well. I'll show you digitally in a minute. Things like these are printed post-it notes. We can just write on them and add to them. Not that hard to do. I'll provide a link that shows you how I did those as well. And things like the sticker notes from earlier. Things that help people to cheat. Templates. The hard work is done for them. They just need to add their writing in a few words. That's brilliant. I just want to show you a digital example quickly. One moment. That's it there. Right. This is Miro. Miro is a digital whiteboard, online whiteboard. I'm a big fan of it. I use it for quite a lot of different things. But I just want to show that the sort of thing you can do is use templates as backgrounds. There's a template that I've drawn. You could draw it on a piece of paper, take a good quality photograph of it. Crop out the desk or the pen and put it up there as a background. And then, we can just put post-it notes on it. Or we can put, this might be I'm going to get someone to talk about their work journey. And they're going to move these little pictures and I don't know, they're going to type something in there that matters to them. Or we're going to we're going to add a sticky note. And it gives agency to the people who we're working with. You can do this one-to-one, or you can do this with a team of people. You can do it with the reflective templates as well. We can just put little text boxes over the top here. It's not as, the spatial activity of writing with your hands is a big deal and really helps people. It's good that, right? This is good too. There are lots of things we can do like that. One more important example to share with you all. I want to give an example of using something really simple in one-to-one coaching. So I'm going to pop back over to the flip chart. So I just want to give one more example. This is from a one-to-one coaching session. So the person who's involved knows I tell this story. But this was a guy that I was coaching a good few years ago now, and he was a busy executive in a really stressful job, and he was spending time with me just to try and help work out how to handle his work better and some of the compromises that came in his life. And um, he was a guy who, when I spoke to him once, he was sat there and he kept talking about things needing to be done that would later bear fruit. He needed to do some things, and then later he would get to enjoy the benefit of having done those things. And it was the benefit he wanted. He wanted to eat the fruit. He wanted his work to bear fruit. He said that a few times, and I noted that. And I came back to the next session with him. Thought about it, and I'd drawn this. It's just a template. It's just a tree. It's got a watering can, and I gave him this. And I had some post-it notes in front of me, and I had drawn little apples on them, or little bits of fruit. And what we did was we sort of started out by talking about the things that he wanted, the fruit that he wanted to enjoy. And I mean, there was loads, but a couple that we came up with was he wanted, I don't know how well you'll see this, he wanted to be able to walk up the stairs to his office. He was only on the second floor, without getting out of breath. He put on some weight in the last 6 months in this job. He wasn't feeling very healthy. His health was becoming a problem. So he wanted to be able to do that. He took another one of the little apples and he wrote inside it himself. He wrote, it's important that he writes. He wrote that he wants to tell the bedtime story. His little 4-year-old daughter. And he said just once a week. Just once a week. Wish I could do that. There was loads more. And then we started to talk about the seeds that he needed to plant, or the things that he needed to do to be able to get this fruit. We talked about eating healthier at work. That was basically not getting the subsidised chips in the work canteen. But that was part of it. And it may sound simple, but managing his time better. He got his PA to put a block in his calendar. He did it 2 nights a week, which I was really pleased about. Where he went home, he read the story to his daughter, and then he got back on with his work because he had to. It's filled up. He was engaged. It was like an hour and a bit, whatever it was. And the time was up. And at the end of it, this like really quite big, imposing fella, kind of like tough executive, sort of walked up to the flip chart and really tenderly took a hold of it and said, "John, can I have this?" It's like, of course you can have it. It's yours. Come on. And he took it and he rolled it up carefully and he took it away with him. Next time he brought it back and he showed me what he'd changed. He had it up on his wall and he'd been working with it. It was amazing. He was doing very well not long after this. The power of his metaphor. It wasn't mine. I didn't make it up. I didn't get crash things with it. This was his. And I did very little. I just gave him a canvas for it. And he did the work. I was very privileged to be able to do that. Okay, a few more things for you. So at this point in the live course, I would probably give the people that I'm working with some time to go and use everything that we've done so far, to be able to go and bring it into their context, into their work and their lives. So I just want to pop up the set of instructions that I would use for this. And because I would, I'd put people together and I'd ask them to find a real life example from their work. Maybe there's some material they want to make. Maybe there's a reflective template, a worksheet, some written instructions. They can use a template. They could use some post-it notes. They could sketch something like a prototype. And I really wanted people to be able to do this. So I do ask you, take if you find some time, go and find a way to apply this before it dribbles out of your brain to your real work. See what you come up with. Maybe share it with someone and ask them what they think. You'll get some help and some opinion. That's cool. Okay. Home stretch now. Practicalities and some tools. So I want to talk about the fancy remoteness scale because I talked at the start of the first video about intimidation, how it can feel hard to do all these things that you see other people do. And most people are fairly comfortable playing with things in person in small groups, but a lot of us work remotely a lot of the time. And you don't have to be able to do what I've just done, sort of live tablet time, to be able to engage people. There is a scale here of remoteness. If we start at the very start, just using some of these skills for your own notes, your own preparation, your own thinking, that's a good start. Taking a photo of something. We all have brilliant cameras in our pockets now, right? Get the lighting right, take a photo, crop it, share something that you've drawn, that you've made. People will be amazed. Even more so if you do it in a document. And get people after this course who go, oh no, John, I've got this huge load of PowerPoint slideware and I'm going to have to redo it all now. You're like, no. Stick one drawing in there of something that's interesting, one set of instructions, one little template you're going to print out and get people to use. Yeah, okay, do that. And people they'll not go, oh, that's different. They'll go, oh, that's different. It'd be interesting to them. You've seen me in front of a flip chart with a different camera, or I've pointed my camera a different way. You can just about see it. It's not bad. Flip chart's 50 quid from Amazon. Worth considering. Other thing people don't think about is post. Depends on how much notice you've got, who you're working with, whether you have their addresses, how much prep you do. But, sending people something through the post, a couple of stickers, a printed template, a bag of Haribo to go with it. It creates an occasion. It creates a connection to the thing that you're going to run with them. So consider that. And last, Miro. I just showed you the online whiteboard. They're reasonably cheap. A lot of organizations have them. Miro Mural's another one. And you can get good levels of interaction on them. Yeah, good. I want to very quickly show a few bits of resources. They're going to fall into these categories. And we're not going to go into we'll do the iPad first. We're not going to do that in a huge amount of detail in this. I use a piece of software called Paper by a company called WeTransfer. And I use it because it's a notebook. It's a set of notebooks, and I can prepare things and I can draw things in advance, and I can copy them and I can export them as PDFs and all the sorts of stuff that you will see me doing. And I can share it on the screen, I can share it via Zoom, I can share it via Teams. I can share it in person on a big screen. I can export things and share them on LinkedIn or put them in documents, and it's a little bit less fun than doing things on a real piece of paper. But you know what? It's pretty good. Very practical for resharing and reusing. Books. I like Heather's book, I said that, but actually the main thing I would recommend to people is go and find yourself a visual dictionary. The Vocablo one is really good. They're quite expensive. They're 30 or 40 pounds, but they are really good as a place to be able to look up a bunch of standard things that you might want. I'll quickly come off sharing to show you a couple of other things. But just some more books that I would recommend. I said there's something about finding templates to use, posters. Very good book. Sylvia Duckworth writes a few sketch notes for educators. Not the style that you'll have seen me draw, but some cool ideas. As far as styles go, there are other types of sketch note drawing available. I like Mara Tiselli's Excelon stuff. You can just see that it looks quite different in the way that the typography and the icons work. Worth a look. And the famous one is Mike Road, the Sketchnote Handbook. This is the intimidating stuff because Mike is talented and can draw things much better than a load of the rest of us can. Think about it, but look at the style because it's interesting. Um, Pens. You saw me with some of the Neuland pens. You're going to do anything face to face, or you're going to draw anything on paper. Neuland make the best pens known to man. And I'll just share again my recommendations. When I teach this course, I give people these pens so that they have them and they're able to use them. Um, the orange one is a black outline pen. So this would be in place of your black biro, but sized for a flip chart. Quick drying ink. It's what I used when I did the strength thing. Really good. And then a big pen called the Big One. Comes in all different colors. There's a grey one there. And it's something that lets us do our shading. The two smaller pens I would use are the fine one is a sort of technical drawing pen, and the fine one art is like a brushy kind of thing. Brilliant for shading. You can get them in all colors as well. Um, there's a company called Inky Thinking. They're in the northeast of England. Love them. Lovely people. Can't help you enough. You generally can't buy Neuland pens and things like Vocablo books and stuff just from Amazon. You go to Inky Thinking, and they're not incredibly cheap, the pens, but they're worth it. There is something about them that's quite helpful. Um, the outline as the orange one. I might use in a flip chart. I could go through like a couple of them in an afternoon if I'm facilitating. And I think they're 3 or 4 quid each now, which is quite expensive. But you can also buy refill ink for them. It's a little bulb. You put this in the top of the pen, squirt, 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 you refill them. That totally worth knowing as well. And my very last bit of attempting to sort of help you with useful bits of advice on what to buy. I can't find the thing I was looking for. One moment. Here we are. Scotch removable tape. I don't tend to use blue tack when I'm putting like flip chart pages and stuff up on people's walls anymore. I've had the pull the paint off. It gets hot and the oil bleeds into someone's newly painted white boardroom. That's never great. This stuff, amazing. Again, I think it's fairly expensive, but it earns its money. And you tape up your bits of flip chart paper and things with it, and people worry that you're putting sellotape on the wall, but honestly, it comes off. Yeah, don't go and spend a fortune on things. If you're going to try this, go and buy yourself a handful of Neuland pens and maybe a visual dictionary, and then wait and try and practice, because that's what a lot of this comes down to. Um, I hope that's a huge pile of practical tools for you. I'm always happy to be asked and contacted about any of them. I'll put a load of links available for things like I don't know, printed post-it notes and where you get, where you find your Neuland pens and stuff like that. And the last video in this is going to focus a little bit more on iPad facilitation. It'll probably be shorter than this. But I want to do one more thing if this is where you end the watching. And it might not surprise the coaches. I would just suggest that you look at this again when it comes up. There we are. You did one of these at the start, or you might have. And I suggest that maybe you spend a couple of minutes reflecting on where you are now in writing. Where's your confidence? What's the new score? How has it changed? How do you feel after everything that we've learned together? Spend a little bit of time. Have a reflection. Feel free to share with me what happened for you. I'd love to know. And that's that. That's the end of part 3, examples, tools, practicalities. The last video of this will be, I say, just a little bit more about iPad facilitation for those who are interested, remotely and face to face. And that's that. Go out and use some of these skills. Use them for yourself. Use them for the people that you work with. And I might see you on the next video.